Hi, it's me, Bob, again. Wanted to talk to you about the latest story that came out. If y'all got my emails or my post on my website, you know that I've pivoted from thinking that the Roman Catholic Church will be Mystery Babylon to the UN, which is pretty far out, but I'm going to stick with that for now. And I have a story that just came out that I posted, as I said, that seems to, well, it really seems to support uh, what I feel is coming in reference to the UN. Um, this is a story that came out yesterday, and I'm going to read some excerpts from the story um, because it sort of explains itself. Um, but it goes on to say that there's going to be 60 days until a sort of a new world order will begin, and they're going to vote on it at the United Nations. And here's some of the things that are entitled, are mentioned in the article. And as I said, I'm going to read some of this stuff. It says in September, that's 2024 coming up, the United Nations Assembly will host the highly anticipated Summit of the Future, where nations will sign the Pact of the Future, representing a major step toward, you ready? A creation of a world government. Okay, so we're talking about the UN here. We're talking about world government. We're talking about in 60 days from now, they're going to vote on the creation of a world government. Now, don't forget what's going on in Israel with Hezbollah. As of today is Monday. They could be announcing any moment now that they're going to invade Lebanon uh, because of what happened there with the bombing. And everyone is predicting that knows anything about the Bible that this might lead to the Psalm 83 war, where all of the near neighbors of Israel that border on Israel will be involved as proxies of Iran, and they will all be involved in this Psalm 83 war, which will not turn out well for them, but will turn out splendidly well for Israel. And I predict that at the end of the Psalm 83 war, the Antichrist will sign the covenant. We talked about that new covenant, the Abraham alliance, that also is a major step toward where we're headed very shortly. So everything, I use the word crescendo, everything is happening right on cue. If the Feast of Trumpets is this early October, we're getting so close to leaving this planet. And if you're saved and born again, I'm sure you have a smile on your face right now and saying, Bob, I can't wait. So we're headed that way. But getting back to this article here, it says the United Nations is preparing this General Assembly, and it also states that the public seems to be dangerously unaware of the UN plans for this summit of the future. It says it is as the summit where member states are expected to declare a planetary emergency as part of a so-called pact for the future. Now, I also mentioned a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago, I'm not even sure anymore, that the New Age movement is going to come back. These so far, these terms are very New Ager, agey, New Age movement terms. This planetary emergency goes right back to the New Age movement. So again, it's right back there with the UN. Um, the next sentence says the Summit of the Future website says that the outcome of the Pact for the Future will be a world and international system that is better prepared to manage the challenges we face now. The Pact for the Future is likely to be another piece of the shift towards a world governed by unelected international politicians. Emmanuel Macron. Anyway, during the summer, now this is a very important sentence here. During the Summit of the Future, the UN member states are also likely to vote to radically alter the UN itself. That just speaks to me that they're going to radically alter the UN. What some are calling UN 2.0, and the very nature of how nation states make decisions regarding the future of our planet. I want to mention a little bit more about that in a second. The UN has also recently announced their plan to sign a global digital compact at the Summit of the Future. So talk about the mark of the beast. Well, here's a possibility that a global digital compact. They use the word compact. Not sure how that's going to fit into the whole scheme. like Netanyahu did, they may even change that word compact to something else, maybe an alliance. I don't know. It says that it makes it perfectly clear from his position, this is a man named Sachs, that he is advocating for giving the UN more power to implement policies for the entire world. Now, we've heard about this in years past, leading up to WHO taking over the UN and making global decisions involved in medical emergencies, global emergencies. But this pact seems to make that look like a nursery rhyme. The WHO. This is much more. Well, on the goals of reforming the UN system, again, on the goal of reforming the UN system, the key is to give power to the UN institutions and to make them more representative. Sachs also echoes previous calls for a new financial instrument to fund the transformation of the world, including a new system of international taxes. Now, again, if you're familiar with Bible prophecy, you know about the rumor of taxing the globe to pay for their new world order, their global government. But again, I'm stressing the fact that the UN seems to be the major culprit in what I'm talking about, and how I reference the UN to Mystery Babylon. I think it's lending support to that idea, and I'm sure we'll learn even more about this in the upcoming weeks. Here's a couple more paragraphs, and then I'll stop with this. It says, additionally, the UN document on the Summit of the Future, titled "What Would It Deliver?" calls for a global financial system that works for all. If you notice in the past that Emmanuel Macron came out and said one day that he wanted to be the president, not just of France, but for all, for everyone. Speaking of Emmanuel Macron, this should be interesting. It says, these calls, everything that I just mentioned, mirror similar ones made during the summit for a new global financing pact held in Paris, France, in June of 2023, not long ago. The summit, led by French President Emmanuel Macron, welcomed 50 heads of state, representatives of the NGOs and civil society organizations to discuss the effort to reset the international financial systems as part of the continued push toward the 2030 agenda and net zero goals. The Summit of the Future is a step, an important step, just one step along in the continuation of a continuum of efforts to close gaps and make the UN more effective in addressing these challenges. Simpson, I mentioned in the story, also notes that the work of turning the UN into a world government will continue with future meetings, including the Second World Summit for Social Development. This is an amazing story. As I mentioned, it has to do with the UN, global government, the New Age movement, Emmanuel Macron. I mean, it's all codified into one, and it's even going to come more into focus probably in the very, very near future. But there is one thing I have to say, and that is this is not exactly the entire story from what I understand. And I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but the way I see it is that the Bible specifically mentions the revived Roman Empire and the Antichrist. So personally, I believe that Emmanuel Macron will run the show from the revived Roman Empire in Europe, not New York City, not the UN. He will set up his revived Roman Empire from Europe. He will be in charge of that part of the two legs that we mentioned in a previous video. So that will be Emmanuel Macron's job. So what are we talking about here at the UN? I think what we're talking about here, and I think this particular story missed this part, and that part is the introduction to the UFOs. It's almost a no-brainer that we're going to have a fake invasion of the UFOs. It's all over the place, the UFOs. So once the UFOs land and they introduce themselves, by the way, this will be after the rapture, so we will never see this. Once they land and introduce themselves to whoever is in charge of the UN, I believe that this global government that is beginning at the UN will morph into a one world religious center entity, the UN. It will not be what Emmanuel Macron is going to set up in Europe. This is going to be different. And as I said, this article doesn't mention that, but that's what I believe. I believe that all of this will morph into a one world government system, otherwise known as Mystery Babylon. And this will be run by the false prophet. When the UFOs land, they will give power to the false prophet, who in turn will lead people toward the Antichrist, which will be Emmanuel Macron. So, as I said, this whole article, which deals with world government, is unbelievably fascinating, but it's not the fulfillment, in my opinion, of what's going to happen. As I said, this UN one world government could very well be, with the help of the UFOs, where the one world religious system comes from. And that's my prediction. And I'm sticking to it. And I don't think I'll be here to be proven wrong. So I could come out and say that. So let's keep an eye on that. Let's see if we could see in the near future more leaning toward the UFOs, the one world religion coming out of Mystery Babylon, which could very well be in New York City at the UN. Okay.